and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I'm Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. The Netherlands has joined the list of the countries that have suspended the use of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Meanwhile, the virus continues to ravage Brazil, claiming over 1,100 more lives and infecting nearly 44,000 overnight. In Pakistan, more than 2,200 tested positive, while 29 died overnight, raising the death toll to 13,537. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 2.6 million lives and infected close to 120 million people so far. The US, Qatar and the Taliban have discussed the Doha Agreement and the ongoing Afghan peace process. US envoy Zalmay Khalilzad met Qatar's foreign minister and Taliban leader Mullah Abdul Ghani brother in Doha. It comes a day after the Taliban said they were reviewing Washington's proposal for an interim government in Afghanistan. The United States says it plans to revive diplomatic efforts to end the war in Yemen. Speaking to UN Special Envoy for Yemen, Martin Griffiths over the phone, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said there is no military solution to the conflict. Meanwhile, the Arab coalition says it has destroyed a Houthi drone over the southern Saudi city of Khamis Mushat. In Myanmar, anti-coup activists are holding more rallies despite military's escalating violence that claimed 39 lives yesterday. The ruling military has imposed martial law in Lang Thaya and Shweta districts of Yangon. Meanwhile, Chinese factories in Lang Thaya were looted and destroyed by unidentified assailants. At the Dubai Tennis Championship, resurgent Japanese star Kei Nishikori fought from a set down to beat big serving American Relly Opelka 3-6-6, 3-6-4. Meanwhile, Joe Wilfried Tsonga's injury woes continue as the Frenchman was forced to retire from his opening round match against Malik Jaziri. Well, these were the headlines. News in detail coming after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the news in detail. The Netherlands has joined the list of the countries that have suspended the use of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Several European and Asian countries have suspended the use of the vaccine over blood clot fears. The announcement by the Dutch government will lead to delays in rolling out shots in the country. The Netherlands has pre-ordered 12 million doses of AstraZeneca's vaccine. Italy's Piedmont region has also stopped use of AstraZeneca's vaccine, adding doubt to the inoculation campaigns across the world. Meanwhile, the virus continues to ravage Brazil, claiming over 1,100 more lives and infecting nearly 44,000 overnight. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 2.65 million lives and infected close to 120 million people so far. Pakistan has recorded another 29 deaths from COVID-19 and nearly 2,200 cases overnight. The health ministry says more than 13,000 people have died since the pandemic began. Officials say Pakistan's caseload has crossed 607,000, out of which more than 571,000 people have recovered, while the number of active cases has surged past 22,000. Planning Minister Asad Umar said vaccination registration for people aged 50 or above will begin in 10 days. Umar said the third wave is more lethal and the $150 million allocated for vaccine procurement can be increased if required. Dozens of Kashmiris have been wounded after Indian occupying troops opened fire at a peaceful protest in occupied Kashmir's Shopian district. Witnesses say many of those wounded have sustained life-threatening injuries and are in critical condition. Indian troops fired live rounds and pellets at demonstrators protesting the inhuman cordon and search operations by the Indian forces. Earlier, the troops martyred a youth and used explosive material to destroy half a dozen houses in the district. Meanwhile, Indian troops also started cordon and search operations in different areas of Baramulla and Budgam districts. The US, Qatar and the Taliban have discussed the Doha Agreement and the ongoing Afghan peace process. US envoy Zalmay Khalilzad met Qatar's foreign minister and Taliban leader Mullah Abdul Ghani brother in Doha. Taliban spokesperson said head of the Taliban negotiations team, Sheikh Molavi Abdul Hakim Haqqani, also attended the meeting. Dr. Naim said implementation of the current situation of Afghanistan was also discussed during the meeting. It comes a day after the Taliban said they were reviewing Washington's proposal for an interim government in Afghanistan. Pakistan and Iran have jointly voiced concerns regarding the rise of ISIS in Afghanistan. This was discussed during Pakistan's Special Envoy for Afghanistan, Mohammad Sadiq's meeting with Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif. Both sides called the ISIS a threat to regional peace and security. Pakistan's ambassador to Iran, Rahim Hayat Qureshi, said the two sides agreed on the necessity of joint efforts for peace and stability of the region. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Tehran supports the Afghan peace talks and wants to preserve the progress. The United States says it plans to revive diplomatic efforts to end the war in Yemen. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was speaking to UN Special Envoy for Yemen, Martin Griffiths, over the phone call. The State Department says Blinken told Griffiths that the U.S. supports a unified, stable Yemen free from foreign influence. He asserted that there is no military solution to the conflict. Meanwhile, the Arab coalition says it has destroyed a Houthi drone fired towards the southern Saudi city of Khamis Mushat. This comes as Yemeni forces and the rebels continue battling over the oil-rich Marib governorate. In Myanmar, anti-coup activists are holding more rallies despite the military's escalating violence that claimed 39 lives yesterday. The ruling military has imposed martial law in the Lang Thaya and Shuai Tha districts of Yangon. Meanwhile, Chinese factories in Lang Thaya were looted and destroyed by unidentified assailants. The Chinese embassy described the situation to be very severe, saying Chinese staff were injured and trapped in the attacks. The embassy asked for security to be guaranteed quickly and also warned Chinese citizens in Myanmar. Elsewhere, Japan says it is monitoring Myanmar's coup and considering how to respond to it. Kosovo has officially opened its embassy in Jerusalem in exchange for Israel's recognition of the country. Pristina had promised to locate its embassy there when it established diplomatic ties with Tel Aviv last year under U.S. sponsorship. It now joins the U.S. and Guatemala as the only countries with embassies in the city. No date was immediately announced for a formal opening ceremony. Meanwhile, the Palestine Liberation Organization says the move is aimed at weakening the Palestinian cause. Earlier, the Czech Republic also opened a diplomatic office in Jerusalem, drawing condemnation from the Palestinians and the Arab League. Libyan Prime Minister Abdulhamid Dbeibeh says he is optimistic about future ties with Egypt. He said this after receiving a congratulatory phone call from Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Dbeibeh said the Sisi has signaled his full support to the new Libyan government. Earlier, the Libyan parliament approved the 27-member unity government by a majority vote. Libyans hope it will end years of civil war that have engulfed the country since the killing of Muammar al-Gaddafi in 2011. Meanwhile, Pakistan has also welcomed Libya's new unity government. Pakistan has joined the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, observing the first ever International Day to combat Islamophobia. Islamabad presented a resolution to observe the day at the OIC's Council of Foreign Ministers last year. In a statement, the Foreign Office said the OIC's unanimous support for the designation of this day is a reflection of the sentiments of Muslims around the world. The OIC group will hold a high-level event in New York on 17th of March to mark the occasion. The OIC is now working with the international community to commemorate this day at the global level. In New Zealand, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern says the world still needs to have conversations about racism and white supremacy. This comes as the country marks 2 years since a white supremacist attacked 2 mosques in the city. Addressing a news conference, Ardern said it was incumbent on New Zealand to get its house in order after the attack. She added that the country's Muslim community was experiencing some pretty horrific racism even before. Ardern also said there is still work to be done to make New Zealand a much safer place for Muslims. She said every global leader has a responsibility in this regard, as their voice can be broadcasted anywhere and at any time. In Sweden, a fire has erupted at a private school for Muslim children in Örebro city. No casualties were reported in the incident. Speaking to state media, the school's principal said footage from security cameras shows 2 people setting fire to the school. Hussein Aladoidi said the masked men broke the windows of the lower floor and threw flammable materials inside. Police have launched an investigation into the incident. In Germany, Chancellor Angela Merkel's Conservative Party has suffered heavy losses in 2 key regional elections. Anger over a face mask procurement scandal in the CDU is compounding frustration among Germans. As per exit polls, the centre-right party is set for its worst ever result at 23% in southwestern state of Baden-Württemberg. The Green Party took first place, garnering more than 31%. In Rhineland-Palatinate, the CDU placed second with 26.9% of votes. This is down from almost 32% in the previous regional election. The centre-left SPD shed some support but held on to first place at 35.5%. 6 people, including 5 herdsmen and a child, have died after a heavy dust storm hit Mongolia. The country's emergency management department says rescuers are trying to locate 81 missing people. Neighboring China has also been affected by the dust storm. The capital city of Beijing is shrouded in thick brown dust, limiting visibility and disrupting traffic. China's meteorological agency has issued a yellow alert, calling it the biggest sandstorm in a decade. Flights have been grounded and the air quality has reached a serious pollution level of 6. More news stories coming up after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. A giant wooden tower was torched as part of the Maslenitsa Folk Festival in Russia's western Kaluga region. This year, the structure, especially built for burning, was named Vaccination Tower, denoting the COVID-19 pandemic. Millions of Russians celebrate Maslenitsa, or Pancake Week, to mark the end of winter. Maslenitsa Week began as a pagan ritual and has been absorbed into the Russian Orthodox Church. The beginning of spring, which was seen as the start of New Year in pagan times, made some festival visitors want to reflect on 2020. Artist Nikolai Politsky said he was inspired to create the 24-meter structure as a hopeful goodbye to the pandemic. Festival visitor Anjan Nia says they are welcoming spring. They burn everything bad and hope for the best, happiness and good health. Another visitor, Art Yom, calls the festival a success and said the organizers were able to put up something unusual. Almost everything on the Banwell and Bakshi Islands in South Korea is purple. The region has become a popular tourist destination. More in this report.
Purple houses, purple cars, people wearing purple clothes, and eating purple rice. These are not scenes out of a movie, but small islands in South Korea that have been tinted purple to attract tourists. The project, which is supported by the country and provincial governments, was inspired by the native balloon flower. These islands have a little over 100 residents, most of which are of elderly age.
젊은 사람들은 다 가보고 한.
Old people like us have lived a secluded life since all of the young people left town. But after we planted lavender, I'm glad to see young people and kids are coming. They're all like my grandchildren.
Visitors who adhere to the theme colour are granted free entry to the island. According to the county office, the campaign has drawn over 487,000 people since it kicked off in 2019.
코로나로 인해서 해외여행을 못 가니까
We could not travel overseas due to COVID-19, so we thought about a local trip instead and found these purple islands. So I'm here with my friends and we're all dressed up in purple. It is amazing and looks like fairy tales and magic. As I'm seeing, the grandmas are all wearing purple clothes. It is very dreamy.
Since 2015, Shinhan County has invested $4.25 million to turn the island purple. This included painting more than 28,000 square meters of roofs lilac.
In Nepal, hundreds of climbers are set to return to Mount Everest under strict conditions. The world's tallest peak will be reopening next month after a year's closure amid the pandemic. More in this report.
As the peak climbing season nears, the Sherpas of Nepal prepare to guide aspiring foreign mountaineers to summit the Everest. In April 2019, a record 381 climbers attempted to scale the 8,849-meter mountain.
Our Sherpa climbers are ready, but there are safety issues as they have not received vaccines. Also, some of the climbing staff have gone to the base camp to start preparations.
8 of the world's 14 highest mountains, including Everest, are wholly or partly in Nepal, and foreign climbers contribute millions of dollars in income annually to the cash-strapped nation. Expedition organizers say the Chinese side of Everest, which was shut to foreign climbers last year, will stay closed this season as well, likely meaning that more climbers will be on Nepal's side.
More than 300 foreign climbers have been confirmed to climb Mount Everest. We expect this number to rise as there is still some time left.
Nepal closed its mountains in March last year as part of tight measures against the coronavirus, which has infected over 270,000 people and claimed more than 3,000 lives so far.
Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish win top prizes at the Grammy Awards, while Beyoncé has set a new record with her 28th win. More about this glamorous night in this report. It was a historic triumphant night for women in music at the 2021 Grammys, as a range of female artists took home the top awards. Taylor Swift has become the first woman to win Album of the Year 3 times. Swift won the gong for her Folklore, which was recorded during coronavirus lockdowns. The writers of I Can't Breathe by R&B artist, her one song of the year. It was written in response to the Black Lives Matter protest that roiled the United States last summer following the police killing of George Floyd. Black culture was also celebrated in Beyoncé's single Black Parade, which was named Best R&B Performance. Beyoncé's 4 Grammys took her total career wins to 28, surpassing the previous Grammy record for a female artist set by bluegrass singer Alison Krauss. Eilish's ballad Everything I Wanted won Record of the Year, and the 19-year-old also won for her theme song for the upcoming James Bond movie No Time to Die. Hosted by Trevor Noah, the ceremony was packed with pre-recorded and live performances by Taylor Swift, Post Malone, The Baby, Black Pumas, and Mickey Guyton. The ceremony was also aimed at moving past the devastating effects of the coronavirus pandemic on the live music industry. K-pop band BTS performed their hit English-language single Dynamite from South Korea at the close of the show. Markets in the Asia-Pacific are trading mixed as investors take differing position ahead of this week's U.S. Federal Reserve meeting. Mainland Chinese stocks have slipped over 1.5%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng has also shed. South Korea's Kospi has slipped marginally. However, Australia's ASX 200 has managed to claw its way fractionally above the flat line. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 and the Topix index have also edged up. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.